The Office, Community, Ted Lasso, probably Parks and Recreation. I'm not sure, I just started watching that. What do all of these shows have in common? Dramatic moments. That may sound weird because the point of comedy is to be funny. I know, quality analysis. And these moments can have some humor, but I'm talking about moments that put the drama at the forefront. And not to be dramatic, but dramatic moments are crucial in making many beloved sitcoms, like the ones I've already mentioned, as good as they are. But why is that? Why can't comedy shows just be all funny? How much can a sitcom be fully dramatic without just straight up becoming a drama? And what happens when a sitcom doesn't have dramatic moments? Also, a quick disclaimer, if I neglect to mention one of your favorite comedies, that's not because I hate it or anything, it's either because I haven't seen it, or I didn't feel the need to cover it in this video. But if there is one that I didn't mention that you'd like to hear me talk about, let me know. Even if I don't talk about it, it'd be nice to find some more great sitcoms. Alright, now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Characters are the heart of comedy shows. Well, honestly, shows in general. It's not the jokes or the cinematography. I can't really think of another example of what people might think makes a good sitcom, but anyway, it's the characters. The jokes might reel the audience in, but the characters make them stay. And you know what's at the heart of characters? You guessed it, dramatic moments. While jokes are great and all, the moments that make audiences care about the characters, and, well, in this case, a comedy, are the moments with little to no comedy and full sincerity. To make this point even clearer, let's take a look at a highly underrated show that I'm sure nobody watching this video has seen, The Office. As I've been implying, The Office's greatest strength is its characters, like Jim Halpert, Pam Beesly, and of course Michael Scott. These characters are incredible and incredibly flimsy, especially Michael, and you can see that balance break early on, and by early on, I mean the entirety of Season 1. In the first season, Michael gets some great lines and moments.
Abraham Lincoln once said that if you're a racist, I will attack you with the North. And those are the principles that I carry with me in the workplace.
But he doesn't get any nuance. Because of this, he just comes off as a well-intentioned jerk, especially in the episode Diversity Day, but later on, when the show does a better job of humanizing him with moments like Michael going to Pam's art show, or Michael staying at the hospital with Dwight, the audience connects and cares about Michael a lot more. Moments like these show how Michael cares about his employees, even though he doesn't always do the best job of showing it. The character himself doesn't really change, he's still the annoying, oblivious boss he was in Season 1, but adding in these wholly dramatic moments portrays Michael in a more nuanced, even positive light. There are also Jim and Pam, who don't improve a lot.
I couldn't sleep. I couldn't concentrate on anything. And then weird stuff like food had no taste. So my solution was to move away. It was awful. And it is something that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And that includes you.
But they get a bit more development and personality than they had in the first season. The main one, though, is Michael. Another show that does this excellently, and probably serves as a better example, though I started with The Office because it's way more popular, is Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is a show about an American football coach who starts coaching a British football team, and it was based on a commercial. Well, actually, 2 commercials. Ted Lasso the commercial was a commercial of the same premise, used to promote Premier League football on NBC, and it featured the idiotic Ted Lasso, an optimist with no idea what he's doing or what anyone else is doing for that matter. In these commercials, Ted's incompetence is the butt of every joke, and to be fair, these commercials are pretty funny.
Yeah, do we have any goals this season? Absolutely. We're going to win a lot of games. We're going to get in the playoffs.
No playoffs.
There's no playoffs. Again, my job just got a lot easier.
And they're great for a quick laugh. But to sustain a show, Ted Lasso had to be good for more than a quick laugh. And guess what? It is. Ted Lasso the show makes me care a lot about Ted Lasso the character in a way that Ted Lasso the commercial doesn't. The show adds a lot more depth to his character and shows his struggles in life, like, minor spoilers, his going through a divorce. This show takes Ted Lasso seriously and, through moments that aren't just a joke, explores his character in interesting and thoughtful ways. The show also builds up a great supporting cast, a lot of which also get some great character development. I think what I'm trying to say is Ted Lasso is a great show and worth a subscription to Apple, or a free trial. But also dramatic moments are important for the character development and stuff, but mostly watch Ted Lasso. So there you go, I guess. Dramatic moments make sitcoms work. Video done. Like, comment, and subscribe. Well, not yet. Though you can do all of those things right now if you want. Dramatic moments are important and all, but you can't just make a sitcom all serious and dramatic and not funny. Otherwise, that's just a drama, and no one wants that. The amount at which a sitcom needs to take a break from the jokes to focus on the characters varies from show to show, but there are some popular ones. The aforementioned Ted Lasso takes scenes from mostly comedic episodes and lets those be dramatic, usually adding an extra layer of depth to the comedic moments as well. The currently airing Abbott Elementary also seems to be doing this, though I can't really comment on that as it's, again, currently airing. Other shows sometimes take an episode or two to mostly just focus on the serious and dramatic stuff, but other shows have like 25 episodes a season to work with. Ted Lasso only has 10 to 12 a season, which from my calculations is somewhat less than 25. One show that did that was the aforementioned The Office, with the season 4 episode Dinner Party, a fan favorite. I only started watching The Office last year, and the reputation of this episode preceded it, so I went in expecting comedy gold, and to my surprise, it wasn't. To be fair, it was gold, just not comedy gold. It was character development gold. Instead of playing almost everything for laughs, it played it for discomfort, showing how Michael was in a toxic relationship and how that toxic relationship blew up when Jim and Pam came over for a dinner party. If this episode tried to be the funniest episode like I thought it would be when I first watched it, it would have undercut the tension and drama, as well as made an intentionally uncomfortable episode more comfortable. If my memory serves me correctly, this is the only episode of The Office to be more dramatic than funny, though a lot of episodes do have moments they play straight. Another sitcom that has a dramatic episode, though to be fair it's nowhere near as uncomfortable to watch as Dinner Party, is Community Season 2's Mixology Certification. This one is also probably a fan favorite, though the main one people point to is Season 3's Remedial Chaos Theory, which I'll touch on later. In any case, Mixology Certification is a popular episode, and it sees Troy turning 21 and the study group going out to a bar to celebrate. I'm going to go into spoilers for this episode in just a second, so consider this your warning. This episode has funny moments, but it's a bit light on laughs, and pretty much every joke turns out to be something emotional by the end, like L Street and the Red Door, the bars that Jeff and Britta were arguing about turning out to be the same bar, Shirley's alcoholism, or Abed's lack of social awareness. This episode leaves everybody drunk and depressed except for Troy, who decides not to drink after seeing how depressed his friends are. It's a really great episode, and it's probably one of my favorites of the show, but this video isn't about me. To get back on topic, this episode is great because it's less of a funny episode and more of a highlight each of these characters' flaws episode, doing so in a way that doesn't tear down or make fun of these characters, but in a way that fleshes them out and, in the end, shows why they need each other. To summarize really quickly, there's not really one specific way to add dramatic moments, but most shows take a scene or two every few episodes, and every once in a while they take a full episode to go light on jokes. Alright, so you know how I said I'd come back to Community? Well, I figured now's a better time than any because Community has a bizarre way of doing, well, just about everything. But more specifically to this video, this show has a bizarre way of using dramatic moments. Obviously, there's the episode I've already talked about in this video, Mixology Certification, but that episode is one of the closest to practically being a drama the way the other shows I've talked about do. Aside from that, this show doesn't really have wholly dramatic moments, but like these other shows, its strength is still its characters. However, it has a really strange yet effective way of showing it. Because everything about this show is weird and heightened and unrealistic, the comedy and drama are too. Other shows like The Office strive for relatability, and at their best, they land quite well. But Community strives for something different, something less realistic, yet just as poignant. I think a good encapsulation of this, though there are many, would be the aforementioned fan-favorite Season 3 episode, Remedial Chaos Theory. This episode is widely regarded as one of, if not the best episode of Community, and it's probably my personal favorite. To go into light spoilers, this episode sees Troy and Abed hosting a pizza party at their apartment, and one of them has to get the pizza, so they roll a die to determine who gets it. Afterward, the episode follows a different reality where a different character has to get the pizza. Some turn out pretty well, some fine but not great, and some, well, turn out as a complete dumpster fire. I'm not going to spoil anything because Community and this episode are hilarious and brilliant, but through the heightened scenario of this episode, the show is able to show each of these characters in a new light and show them interact with each other in ways they haven't before, ways that strengthen their dynamic and their individual characters. It also, while not specifically having dramatic moments, strengthens characters through moments of comedy, like Pierce wanting to be liked or Shirley wanting to feel needed. These ideas are played for laughs, but more so at the situation than at the characters, and they use comedy to show the strengths and weaknesses of the characters playing off each other and the situation. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a show I've just started watching, kind of does the same thing, using a heightened environment to explore characters in a unique but still nuanced way. It doesn't work to the same level as Community, but it still works pretty well. Though I should note I've only seen a handful of episodes, there might be some great ones I've just missed. There's an episode toward the end of The Big Bang Theory's 12th season titled The Maternal Conclusion, where, spoilers by the way, Leonard, the main character, well, his mom comes to visit, and she's usually very distant and disrespectful to him because his whole life she's been using him as an experiment. But in this episode, she comes to visit and, surprisingly, actually wants to bond with him. Leonard naively, though understandably, thinks that maybe his mom actually cares about him, and he's happy bonding with her. But to his surprise, it was an experiment the whole time. Hijinks ensue and Leonard goes to confront her about the whole situation and realizes that he can't change his mom, and for his sake, he should just accept her for who she is. After this, he forgives her for how she treated him his entire life, and the scene ends with his mom uncharacteristically, though genuinely, hugging him. What does this have to do with anything, you may ask? Well, firstly, I wanted to highlight it because it's a great scene from a less than great show. But secondly, because it highlights one of the biggest problems with this show, its use of dramatic moments. I'm not talking about this scene though, because this scene does pretty much everything I've been talking about in this video, taking a moment to genuinely focus on the characters and their issues without making it a joke fest. But you know what doesn't do that? The rest of the entire show. I was somewhat taken aback when I saw this scene, not because it's incredibly brilliant and poetic or anything. It's good, but something like The Office or especially Ted Lasso does this a lot better. But for The Big Bang Theory, this is practically a masterpiece. Hey, the version of myself editing the video here, I'm gonna take a quick pause from the video you're currently watching to tell you that I do not hate The Big Bang Theory, and this section of the video, I kind of go a little overboard on the hate for The Big Bang Theory, but I actually think the show is funny, and though it's not necessarily one I recommend, it's also not one that, I hate with all my being. I just specifically dislike this one aspect of the show, and some other things about it, like the laugh track. But, yeah, I don't think it's as bad as the internet is saying it is. I think it's a fine show, and I just wanted to make it clear that I don't hate the show, even though I'm gonna rant about it a lot in this section of the video. Anyways, thanks for watching. And also, subscribe, all that stuff. Yeah, bye. However, it fails in what, in my opinion, is one of the most fundamental elements of a sitcom. This show completely fails at writing characters. Not necessarily in the sense that the characters are bad, offensive, or stereotypical, though admittedly some are. More in the sense that they're just badly written. I've watched almost every episode of this show, and I don't care at all about any one of them. I didn't care if Leonard ended up with Penny, I didn't care if Sheldon learned some lesson, I genuinely didn't care about anyone. Do you know why I didn't care about anyone? Because the show didn't either. Shows like The Office and Ted Lasso take their characters seriously, especially their main characters, and they treat them with respect. Even when a joke is at their expense, the show does things to show that it genuinely cares about its characters. The Big Bang Theory, on the other hand, doesn't care about its characters, or at least doesn't show it, because almost every scene of the show is joking at the expense of the main characters without showing their nuances or giving them a dramatic scene every once in a while. But the problem only gets worse when the show does attempt a dramatic scene or moment because again, it's almost always undercut by a joke. When I watched the scene with Leonard and his mom, I was expecting it to end with a joke, because it always does. Like earlier instances of the same plotline, or Sheldon being a jerk to everyone, or basically everything with Raj, it's a joke, and nothing more. But it's also kinda not, and I don't mean that in a good way, like the joke becoming serious or having more depth than originally seen before, like a better written show would do. The Big Bang Theory makes everything a joke, but still wants you to care about its characters. I mean, the show literally ends with the characters all eating in a group while the theme song plays slowly in a different key.
1 billion years ago, expansion started. Wait.
The good thing is, I think the showrunners themselves know of this mistake, because their other show in the Big Bang Theory interconnected universe, which I can't believe exists, Young Sheldon, doesn't make this mistake. This show actually does let the dramatic moments be dramatic, like in the Season 2 episode where Sheldon is doing a psychology thing on his family, and in the end, it shows his dad giving up a better paying and more respectable job, and a job he wants more, so that his family can stay in Texas. The episode ends with Sheldon lamenting,
As a child, I never understood the sacrifices my father made for his family's happiness.
This scene is only one of many examples of young Sheldon's more thoughtful approach to characters, and though it's far from a perfect show, this type of character work makes for a much better and more enjoyable show than The Big Bang Theory. So, in conclusion, characters are the heart of sitcoms, and the heart of characters is in dramatic moments. Oh no, wait, what is that? Well, it looks like I forgot something. So, Seinfeld is a popular show from the 90s following the fictional life of a fictional version of Jerry Seinfeld, and it kinda breaks everything I've been talking about in this video. I mean, it's probably one of the most beloved sitcoms of all time, and it doesn't follow this rule at all. The show paints each and every one of its main characters as a selfish jerk with no redeeming qualities, and at least from the episodes I've seen, they're always trying to take advantage of people who have done nothing wrong. But somehow it works, and quite well. I mean, the show is, like I said, one of the most popular and beloved sitcoms, being number 36 on the IMDb Top 250 Shows list. And from the episodes I've seen, it's hilarious. And you know what? I think that's the reason it works. To take a look back at The Big Bang Theory, that show doesn't work from a character's perspective because it's constantly making fun of its characters, except no, it's not. It's making fun of its characters while also asking the audience to care about them and their struggles. Seinfeld never asks that. It never asks the audience to care about the characters. It invites the audience in for a fun half-hour story and asks nothing more of the audience than to find the show funny. It's not exactly the smartest move, because it relies more on the humor of the show than on the audience's attachment to the characters, but if the jokes land, like in Seinfeld's case, it can be hilarious and unique. But it's a pretty tricky balance, and it's kind of a miracle that Seinfeld pulled it off. Now that the logic of my argument is once again flawless, I think it's time we move on to the actual conclusion. In conclusion, characters are the heart of sitcoms, and dramatic moments are the heart of characters. Dramatic moments let us take a pause from the jokes to find a new understanding of some of our favorite characters. They should be used sparingly because these shows are comedies first and foremost, so maybe a dramatic scene once every few episodes, or a dramatic episode once every few seasons. But most importantly, they should be there, because not caring about a sitcom's characters can be a sitcom's fatal flaw. Unless it's Seinfeld.